Yes, so Thomas here together with Raul and Jason, and we're going to talk about the restaurant takeaway system that we are planning to build, codenamed TakeMeAway, take my breath away. Anyway, hello Jason, I haven't seen you before. How are you doing?
Good. I just discovered the site maybe an hour ago.
All right, all right. Do you want me to fill you in?
So I just thought I'd kind of lurk.
All right, cool. Well, welcome to Agile Ventures. Feel free to join in, and if there's anything you want to add, don't hesitate to speak up.
Okay.
That's the way things work here. So, hello, Sampriti. Jason, just a question. Where are you from?
Seattle.
Seattle. Okay, great city. I've been there once in '93, I think. So that's like ages ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, welcome. Okay, so yes, guys. So what we're talking about here is the new project of this community. Hello, Patrick. Yeah. If there's anything you want to add, don't hesitate to speak up. Okay. Somebody's gonna have to turn off his audio in the background. Just a question. Where are you from? Okay, I just muted you, Patrick, because you had my voice on the live stream.
Probably watching on the live stream on YouTube.
Yeah, so I was hearing myself with a 30-second delay, and that feels odd for me. So anyway, so we're talking about this new project of ours, where we are aiming to build a management system for a catering service, and this is our second meeting. I had a client meeting on Monday. Yes, Monday. Sampriti joined that meeting. I met with Sharik. Sharik is the client. He operates his business here in Gothenburg in Sweden. And so we spoke a little bit about the requirements of this project, and basically we validated what we discussed in the first dev meeting, that the most important, well, the domain is fairly simple. We have a model for a client. We have a menu. The menu is composed by several dishes, a daily menu basically. We group those menus in weeks, of course, and because they have daily specials basically, and then this client should be able to create an order, and that order needs to be paid for, of course, so we can set a status of being paid, and then he can go over to the restaurant and pick up his order, where the restaurant owner or the business owner marks the order as completed by just being delivered. And apart from that, what client requested, what we didn't speak about last time is the reporting, some sort of reporting system. So he need to be able to generate a daily report of sales being made, and probably also a weekly report. But we can start with a daily report generator. So what we need to discuss today, I think, is I was thinking that we could add some more stories to the pivotal tracker, so we can start drilling down, basically, so we can have some tangible tasks to work on when this meeting is over. But before we move on to that, I would like to discuss the project organization issue, and that means we need to decide upon how long we will work on this project, how long sprints we will have, what are the goals of each sprint, but that of course must come after we have defined the user stories. But we need to set a time frame for client meetings. Should we have them weekly or bi-weekly? And we need to be able to, well, we need to give the client some proposals, basically. He has to have like 2 or 3 time slots to choose from, because it needs to fit into his schedule, basically. And we need somebody to take a lead on this project, because even if I initiated this, I have not the time or the energy to commit myself fully to this project. I'd love to code on it and contribute by delivering features, but I cannot be the project leader. However, whoever will be the leader of this project can count on my support in terms of like some sort of mentorship. You know, if that feels insecure in this role or doesn't know how to tackle certain situations, etc., etc. But in the project role, the project role is about calling the dev meetings like this one, and we need to excuse me. Oh, okay, just background. Okay, no problems. So the project leader needs to call these meetings and also coordinate meetings and communication with the client. So okay, let's talk basically. What are you guys' thoughts about this? How can we move forward? Sampriti, Rahul?
Yes. You mean in terms of the lead on the project?
Mm. I think that's a good. I think that's a good start. I think this is something that we need to start with.
Well, I'm not too sure how this has been handled in the past. Like, so you're saying a project lead will have to essentially call up meetings and then have meetings with the client and all that. Is that
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Yeah, and have a general understanding of all the bits and pieces of the project. So I mean, that is the go-to guy for other developers, asking what feature should I work on now, or how can we solve this problem, or if some questions arise. I mean, basically what I do for Website One, for the AgileVentures.org site, is that I coordinate everybody's efforts, and I also have the authority to merge in or reject pull requests. So I would add that person to the to give that person admin rights for the TakeMeAway repository on GitHub.
Okay. Well, I don't know who. Maybe we should find out first who's part of the project. I don't know. So far, it's only been you, me, and Sampriti. Aaron also, I think. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The new members, maybe they wanna join in also. I know we have Jason online and Patrick. So I don't know.
Sampriti, what are you feeling?
Maybe let's get the project started a bit, and then like currently project hasn't been started, maybe, which is why we don't really have many contributors. I would like to take the project lead. However, I'm a student, so I can't really guarantee my time to the project.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't really take up a project lead position, which is that important.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe what I would say is you be the project lead for maybe the first sprint or so, the first sprint where we can get the project up and running, and then when we have a core member of developers, we can start thinking about who can take the project lead from you.
All right. Okay, that's a suggestion. I would say a good thing that we have in Website One is also that I was coordinating all the tasks and calling meetings, etc. But Brian was my technical lead, basically, doing the lion part of the code review and etc. So how about if I would suggest that you, Sampriti, could become this technical lead that suggests certain solutions and do pull requests and have admin rights to the repository, And perhaps you,
Definitely.
Rahul, you've been around now for a while, and I think it's a good thing for you to dig into the Scrum documentation and figure out how things are done. And this is a relatively small project, so it could be a great learning experience to coordinate a dev team. I mean, we could potentially become 5, 6, 7 people working on this, and just, by taking this leading role, you could gain some experience.
I could
And
do that, but the only thing I can't guarantee is like maybe running regular dev meetings and scrums and all that, because
mm,
that is one thing I cannot guarantee,
mm,
because my time availability is flexible, and on most days, on many days, I might not be able to organize the dev meeting because of some
mm,
reasons. So that
I
that is
understand.
a responsibility I can't take.
Mm. Can you be more flexible with your time, Rahul?
The time issue is going to be a problem because I'm usually available around this time only. During the day, it's a bit tough because I'm at work and all.
Okay.
But yeah, in terms of planning, I wouldn't mind doing it, but I think it will depend on what we decide the time would be for
Mm.
all the meetings and all that. Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that dev meetings are okay to be held around this time, not later, because then we miss Sapriti. Sapriti is a few hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
But in terms of client meetings, I know that the client is rather busy during the day, so we could talk to him if I mean it's 8:30 at night here in Sweden right now, so. Perhaps this time is a good time for him as well, or if not, we could have client meetings on weekends, if that would work out for you. I don't know, or the client. But this is something that could be, discussed and settled during the course of the first or second sprint. And also, my idea is that and I've told this to the client, that we can commit to a two-week sprint. Period to start with, and see where we end up during those 4 weeks, and do some sort of evaluation and a retrospective, and then make a decision whether we should continue with this project or, leave it be. So what you would be committing to, if you would like to accept this project lead position, Rahul, would be for that month, for that 4-week period. And then after that, if things doesn't work out for you, for whatever reason that might be, then you can take a step back and we can fill that position with somebody else, which is not a bad thing in itself, because this kind of positions should rotate between the team members anyway. So,
Okay.
how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm willing to give it a shot. I don't know.
Cool. Yeah. Trust me, I will bombard you with materials after we go, and also, whenever, if there's anything that you need help with. I mean, I will probably attend the client meetings yourself, but I will leave the stage for you, and not, so you can lead them. But if there's any help you need, you can count on me.
Okay.
And also, Sampriti is a great resource in terms of doing code reviews and also discussing with the client, and he has a good understanding of the business needs.
I've kind of never done this type of thing, like where I have to discuss with clients and all that. So I'm really not sure what exactly to do and all that. But hopefully I'll be getting your help in how to coordinate that.
Yeah. Absolutely, great. If you haven't done it before, that's a great opportunity to learn, and then to pick up those skills up. I think it's that's what Agile Ventures is for, basically. So cool.
All right, cool.
Okay, so that sounds great. So having said that, I will, or perhaps Sapriti, if you want to do that, you could update the information on website 1 that Sapriti is the technical lead, and Rahul is project leader in the project description of TakeMeAway on AgileVentures.org.
All right.
Wonderful.
He also requested to be added to the pivotal tracker.
That's already done.
Okay.
I'm multitasking here. So yeah, and also Patrick, I think I haven't added you to that to this project yet, and Jason also. I mean, you're just totally new here, but if you want to have a look at what Pivotal Tracker is, just follow the conversation, and if you want to join this project and contribute, you're more than welcome to do that. But
Okay.
Patrick, if you want me to add you to Pivotal Tracker, I would need your email, and you can send it over chat, and that would be good.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
All right. So for you guys, especially Jason, if you haven't seen Pivotal Tracker before, it's a project management tool that supports the agile and lean kind of way of managing projects. And so the phase we are at right now is that we defined some stories in the backlog of this project, which is, I mean, it's a list of to-do of action items that needs to be done, and it works in this way that each action item is a so-called user story with a description on it. So and these are high-level user stories that needs to be broken down in smaller user stories, basically. So I guess we're gonna create epics out of them or something. I don't know yet. Let's decide upon it. And if you or somebody else wants to start working on it, you assign yourself to this story and click start on it. Then you work, start coding that particular feature. And at the end, when you're done, you submit a pull request to GitHub. Raul or Sapriti will do a pull review. A code review of that pull request, and then merge it into our servers. But yeah, having said all that, we could move on to defining some stories. And I am sharing my screen now, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So. Any ideas how we should move forward, guys? We have a basic scaffold. We have a basic application set up on GitHub, right?
Yes.
This is the.
Can I?
Go ahead.
Could I ask some questions? I listened to the client meeting video. I watched that earlier today, and just have a couple questions coming out of that. So the first one is, there was some discussion with yourself and the client regarding the clients engaging with another company to develop the front end or to stylize the front end. It wasn't clear to me what exactly was being talked about there. Could you expand on that?
Yeah. So what we are set out to do now is that we're planning to back-end application, basically a admin panel for this business. You know, where the business owner can log in, he can create dishes, he can create weekly or daily menus, he can view orders, and he can manage them, basically mark them as delivered or what have you. But the client itself, in order to access that information, because what the client is supposed to do is, he has to be able to pick up his smartphone or his desktop computer or whatever, and view the menu and be able to place orders through some sort of an interface. And what we've said is that we're going to split that up. So we're going to build one application for the back end, for the management system, and create an API for the front end application to talk to this back end system. So through JSON we can transfer information about what is on the current menu today. We can allow users to log in and return a status of authorization status for the user, etc., etc. So the front end of this management system is supposed to be on a separate application. And also, what I've told you that what we can build is a bare app, HTML5 based application, for instance. But if he wants to have some sort of professional styling in terms of somebody putting a layer of CSS on it so it looks good, follows his business profile, etc., etc., he can order that CSS from somebody else, and we can put that on top of this application. Or what he can do, we can just document the API, and he can give that documentation to some external firm, and pay them to develop this front-end application for him. So that is what is being discussed there. But I don't want this project to, commit ourselves to doing his design in terms of colors and graphic logos, etc., etc., because that's I feel that is a proprietary thing that we don't do, basically. We're gonna open source the whole thing. Everything that we do, we will open source, and it feels like his company brand and etc. is not something that should be open sourced.
So our initial target then is an admin app, a back-end app as you call it, and the views that in HTML and things like in CSS we would be doing for that app are going to be limited to the admin console views.
Yes. Yes.
Not end user, not end customer views.
No.
Okay.
Not initially. No.
Got it.
Okay. Then we are thinking. And that we've talked about the stack to use for this, and we settled on doing that in Rails, Ruby on Rails. And when we approach the client side of the whole thing, the client application, we can do that in a simpler framework like Sinatra or Padrino, because we will not be handling any active record models, for instance, or everything will be handled by the API from that.
So Thomas, just one follow-up question. The client did mention on that video that he was talking to another company to develop the front end. Do we know anything about that and how we would interface with that other company?
Not yet. Not at this point. No. And neither does he, basically, because what he told me, I don't know if he told me on or off camera, but he just started to talk to these people, and they're going to give him a quote, on what they will charge for doing certain things, etc. And this is a very non-technical client, so he wasn't clear on what exactly they will tell him they could do. Because I explained to him that if we do this backend, their role will be to speak to our backend application through the API. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna tell them that." So this will be a process of at least a few weeks before we know what sort of a commitment they are willing to engage on. But the good thing is that they will probably be based here in Gothenburg, and I will be able to meet with them, and we can pull in at least somebody from that company into our meeting, so we can discuss with them any requirements they would potentially have on the part of the application that we will develop.
Okay, I guess it's not a big deal now, Thomas, but it just strikes me if he's going to engage with another company to develop a front end in a web front end or maybe a mobile front end, that'll be a commercial application, and that company will have expectations on us to deliver API capability to meet their schedule in the commercial terms. So I'm getting way ahead of ourselves, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, and then they are in for a big surprise, because we don't do those kind. I mean, he is fully aware that this is a learning process for us. So the time frame of us delivering some workable code is completely different than a commercial enterprise. So. What we will do, of course, and that's a part of our learning process, is that when we develop this API, to document that so somebody else can use it is a good experience for us to do. So yeah, we will document everything, and we will tell them how to access this API, but on our terms and not on on theirs, basically.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So. Again, as I usually explain this, it's like, getting a haircut on hairdresser school. You know, you don't never know what you're gonna get. You get a discount on the haircut, but the student might have a bad day or something. You know, so it not always work out so good. So you know, this is the same thing here. This is a learning process for us, and he's aware of that.
Thomas, another question I had was, and again, this may be way too premature to ask this question, but does this client understand that if we do develop this app and it does go live and he uses it in his business, that he'll have costs in production related to hosting and credit card processing?
Yes.
He knows that?
He knows.
Okay.
Yeah, he knows that. He knows that. We spoke about that, and you know, this is something that he knows he's going to face, and the credit card processing is, you know, it's a natural part of doing business. So yeah, absolutely.
And then last question I had coming out of that video review was that there was a quick discussion toward the end of that meeting, Thomas, regarding, it sounded like you were talking about VAT and other taxes, processing of those.
Yeah.
Can we assume that that kind of stuff will be handled by whatever payment processor we bolt on here? Or do we have to worry about that?
We have to worry about that a little bit, not much. Well, yeah. Okay. So here's the deal. Good question. We have to charge value-added tax for all purchases. So we have to add that tax to every transaction, and also we have to display the price. You know, if a lunch costs €5, for instance, that €5 needs to be including. You know, that includes the tax already. That's the law here in Sweden, that the prices towards consumers has always included the value-added tax. I don't know how that works in the United States. I think that the sales tax is added at that checkout, so prices are displayed without sales tax, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the opposite situation here in Sweden. We have to display. You know, if you do business to consumer, you know, catalogs or websites, etc., then you have to display the prices with value-added tax. But if it's a business-to-business operation, then you can display prices without value-added tax. But since this is a catering business and the primary target audience is regular consumers and not businesses, then you have to display everything with tax. So when we do order processing, we need to save basically two values. We have to save the sale value of the order without tax and one with tax. You know, for us to generate the reports later on. You know, so the daily sales, for instance, has to be separated. That, you know, he sold goods for €200, and apart from that, he charged another €50 in taxes. But on the client receipt, the total needs to be including tax. Yeah. So, but let's cross that bridge when we get there. I know the Swedish, you know, the European, basically it's the same law across the whole of Europe, basically. And don't get me started on the value-added tax, because I think it's an unfair tax and I hate it. But it brings in big revenues to the government. It's 25% actually for most goods and services. On food, it's 12%. So yeah. Anyway, okay. So in the meantime, I just pulled up the application we scaffolded. So one task that I can add to the Pivotal Tracker is to update the README file. Yeah, so because we need some information about the project instead of some you know, basic text that somebody else. I think it doesn't say much right now. It says something about how to start up the application, but yeah. Some basic information project. And for you, Raul, just so you know, the way we try to describe Agile Ventures project is that we try to add something in terms of, the principal organization behind this project is agileventures.org, so this text should be there, and that we proudly use agile methods and blah blah blah, And on website 1, I have this table, with some information regarding the status of the project on various services, etc. This is not necessary, but it could be good. So, and also this part about contributing to the project.
Okay.
Would be good to have.
Right, cool.
Yeah. So I would say that save, and that's more of a chore rather than a feature. So I'm just going to update that. I would say that what we could do, and I won't be able to pair program today, but I would suggest that we basically scaffold those models to start with. The payment model, the dish admin, and create those relationships in Rails and write some cover that in specs. And have you guys used the Shuda Matcher's Jam from Thoughtbot before?
Not me.
No, I think we have that included in the Jam file already.
I think it is included, but I haven't used it in projects previously.
So it's a really good way to test relationships. Let's see.
No.
Yeah, it's here. So if we have a quick look at website 1, I think we use Shuda Matchers there. Not sure though. Spec, and go to model specs. There we are. And we go to user, for instance. Yeah, so this is the syntax for that. Is expected to have many statuses, Is expected to accept nested attributes. It's a very good way, quick way to test those things. Those tests were much more complicated before this jam came along, and also the factories and etc. So what we could do in a pairing session right after this meeting is to actually start working on those basic models that we know we're going to need in the domain, basically, and write some tests and specs for that. And in the meantime, I would say that we need to create some basic stories for, admin opening up the application, logging in. How do we want the dashboard to look like, etc. So some sort of lo-fi sketches would need to be created. And you have to write up some stories for that as well. So. Time to get busy.
I guess so.
Cool.
In addition to the model development, should we also build an ERD, entity relationship diagram, for all the tables?
We can, when we work with those models, we automatically add fields to that, of course, and it's not that imperative that we have all the fields, all the tables in place to start with, because we work with migrations later, so it's very easy to add and remove fields as we go. But yes, absolutely, a basic set of how would you describe a dish and how would you describe an order, etc., would be very good to have from the beginning. Yeah, absolutely. So if you this is something that if you want, you could add to the description of this task. I suggest that we have, or you could add that as comments. I suggest we have certain fields, certain attributes attached to this model before we start working on them. That could be also a good way to task and get involved. Absolutely.
Well, I could do that. Also, why don't I just take a stab at developing an NERD for this based upon the model descriptions
Sure.
and discussions, and then we can kind of review it as a dev team.
Sure.
I think it's useful to look at the first draft of all the anticipated fields in each data table. That would lead to good discussion.
Sure. Absolutely. Raul, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, that would be a great thing to have. It'll probably help us draw some ideas around what to build concretely, So, sure.
So do write up a chore for that in Pivotal Tracker, so we can assign that to who was I talking to? Patrick, right? Yes.
Patrick,
sorry.
yeah.
So I'm just gonna add you to the tracker. Now I saw your email. See, I want, if I can come with a suggestion, since I'm not a project lead here, but I really want everything to be added to, all chores, features, and bugs should be documented in the Pivotal Tracker, because that way we can go back and see how the work has progressed, etc., etc. So.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Cool. I'll probably do this in MySQL Workbench, if that's okay with everybody. It's an open source tool available from mysql.com.
Absolutely.
It's got a good ERD editor. Okay.
Absolutely. Feel free to do that. Well, okay, guys. I would say that what else do we need to cover? So let's talk about some. Or do you want to hold off on that? Some suggestions to the client about the dates and times where he can contribute.
I think we need to kind of have a basic idea of when we think we will be available to have those meetings.
All right.
Before we go to him with them. I don't know about the rest, but I think we have to decide on some dates ourselves first. So.
Cool. Let me paste the email to the client Okay, so let me just type that in here, and that's for your records, of course. Okay, shaffiq.cabir at 52 e.se. Oh shoot! I can't do the @ sign, so I'm just gonna do this. I can't do the @ sign in this chat window. I don't know why, really. It just won't accept that. So, and his name is, of course, Shaffiq. So, Shaffiq Kabir. Yeah. So you can save that.
Sorry, could you spell the client's name?
SHA.
SHA.
FIQ.
FIQ.
And the last name is KABIR.
BIR. Okay, thank you.
And his email is in the chat window of the Hangouts.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay, so when do you guys think we can? So we decided we're gonna go on a 2 weeks sprint, right? I mean, I don't know. 2 weeks iteration, something.
That's what I would suggest. Yeah.
So, which means, how does it usually work? At the end of those 2 weeks, we need to be able to present him something, or?
Yeah. Well, I would say that in this initial stage, when you have this diagram, for instance, this data model finished, or at least I propose it, I would say that that's a good point where you guys could have a client meeting and talk him through that data model, basically. And at that point, also, if you have some basic features, about, some user stories to find that, okay, so you log in, you do this, and you do that in a kind of a sequence, start from the higher level. That is also a good thing. So I would have both of them those things ready to present to him, because in a discussion with the client you will probably need to add some modifications and etc. So but then you on that meeting you would be prioritizing the features and moving them from the backlog, from the icebox, to the backlog, and then you start working on them. And from that time, if a week and a half passes or something, at the end of that sprint, you set out a goal that these features is viable, that we can actually deliver in this time frame. Mm-hmm. And then you have a meeting with him where you basically demo his application for him. Whatever you have done. Is device configured so we can log in as an admin? Is certain administrative things already in place or not? Is some part of the API already defined? Then you just show that to him, and then you reprioritize the backlog. Perhaps move some other stuff from the icebox to the backlog, and then you go on for another sprint basically. And at the end of that sprint, you have another meeting, and if you have managed to develop as many features as possible, that the application is deemed being a minimal viable product, then you can push it out to some sort of a production server and get an acceptance from the client that this is actually something that you can use, and then a new decision is being made whether you want to continue with this or not. If you do want to continue, you add new stuff to the icebox, make some refactoring of some features, or add new features to the system, and you just iterate through that in 2 week sprints. And it's a never-ending story, believe me. There's always something to do on an application.
All right, cool.
Can I ask a question, Thomas and Raul and everybody else? Do you think we have enough information right now to really start into developing a prototype to show the client? Or it strikes me that we really not have a serious requirements discussion with the client. In that video, for instance, the client started to say, well, gee, we'll have to talk about email or SMS messages going out. Mm-hmm. And we didn't explore that, but he could be talking about that he gets an SMS when an order is entered into the guest interface, or the person who ordered something gets an SMS when his order is ready to be picked up. Mm-hmm. I mean, there are a lot of hidden things in that small little sentence that weren't explored. I just don't know. I don't know if we want to start with starting to code, or if we want to start with having him maybe put down on paper his idea of how it would work, and then review that with him. What do you guys think?
I would say, if I can say my point of view, I would say that in the way we try to do this, in a very lean and agile way, we can start working with the information we have, which is very basic information. And as you point out, there are a lot of question marks, but my take on a situation like this is it is better to start and figure out that, okay, we need more info, and actually go to the client with specific questions. Would you like to handle this? Like notifications. Notifications are a very, very important part, but what we have to define at this stage is what is the core business, the core of this application. And I would argue that the core features are, define dishes, define menus, and expose that through an API, so another application can let users access that info, authorize them and let them create orders. And notifications, for instance, and even payment, because in the core sense of this business, you don't even have to accept online payments, because people are still gonna have to go to the place and pick up the order. So we could ask them to pay in cash, So
that's a good question, Thomas, because in the U.S., when you say order a pizza over the phone, you don't give them your credit card. You actually pay when you pick it up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so that's an interesting idea. So okay, so what you're recommending is let's just develop something minimal we can show the client, and then have a more fruitful discussion on requirements, so we have something to show them, and you can
exactly.
form his thoughts around that.
Yeah, because payments, reports, notifications, are extra features. They are important, but for me it seems like they are a little bit outside the very the main business objects here, and the one that I deem are the most important ones are basically menu, dish, admin of course, and an order and a client, and payment, yes, because a lot of suites are very very used to paying over internet, and actually the e-commerce have changed the way people are doing business in Sweden, because just a few years ago you would never pay anybody in advance for some goods or services you haven't seen, but now everybody takes that for granted. Yeah, sure, I order socks or underwear and I pay for it, and the e-commerce companies are very fast on withdrawing money from your account, right? Then they ship something to you, and let's say that item is broken, then you have to return it and wait 1 week or week and a half to get your money back, so because they are not that fast in returning money to you, and just a few years back that would be completely, people wouldn't sell for it, but nowadays people do that. So
yeah, plus in Europe your credit card processing is much more secure than America's. We have a pretty dumb credit card system.
So I hear, and that's weird also.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask of the opinion of everybody, I know we're talking about building a back-end app and then showing the customer some admin screens, etc. I'm wondering if we also need to build a minimalist guest web app so that we could convey the concepts to the client of what his customer would go through to order something from him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think just admin screens of here's how you define a dish and add pricing to an existing dish, all that stuff, may not convey enough to him. He may need to see some screens that his customers will prototype screens for his customers. That could also prove to be a prototype he could give to whatever commercial company wants to develop a front end.
Absolutely, I agree with you totally. And we touched upon this topic in our last dev meeting. We put a little bit on the side, but absolutely, we should define that stories and then build some sort of a very simple application. We don't have to style it. We don't have to do anything fancy with it, but just to show the workflow of watching, as you say, watching menus, choosing dishes, and creating an order. Yeah.
I think that would be good. It could be ugly, but it'll show the concepts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So these stories can also be created, So we can start to think about that. Perhaps not today, but rather soon.
Can I know I'm talking too much here. Sorry about that.
No,
but
go ahead.
One thing that I recommend we do is we look at this gem called Active Admin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but the Syrian Orphan Agile Ventures project, ASRA, they're actually using, if you fire it up, it's basically all active admin screens.
Yeah. I scaffolded that for them. Yeah.
You did? Okay. What do you think of that?
So I think that Active Admin is a great gem. It gives us. I remember when we created this application. We basically modeled up some stuff. Some basic models, and we added Active Admin, and in a matter of 2 hours or 2.5 hours, we had a semi-working application. And it was great. I think it's a great thing. What Ostra is doing now, they're moving away from Active Admin, and I do not understand the rationale behind that decision. What they've told me, without actually explaining to me so I understood, because I'm stupid perhaps, I don't know, but what they said is that the Active Admin put some restraints on that. They couldn't do certain things with the models and with the controllers that they wanted. They have some, at least by them, quite complicated logic by who's the orphans being sponsored by somebody under certain conditions, etc., etc. And they felt kind of trapped by Active Admin, basically. So they are moving away from that. but I would say that's not a wise decision. But it's their project, so I'm not I'm not involved in that anymore. So I would say Active Admin could be a very good solution for this project for the admin interface. Yes.
I have one question also. Do you think should we focus on building one admin panel from scratch, or do you think we should probably look at maybe existing solutions? I don't know.
Yeah, the Active Admin. Yeah, it's that's exactly what we're talking about right now. So if you just head over to this activeadmin.info site, you can see the look and feel of the admin interface, and I would say that this could be very much a good solution for us.
Raul, if you spun up the OSRA app on Agile Ventures, the OSRA,
yeah,
it's pretty much all Active Admin. At least it was a week ago, and there was a lot of functionality. It looked like it got out of the box immediately.
So let me show you also on GitHub what happens on the OSRA project. So let's see, here we are. Okay, so if we go into the app directory, so this is what is that? They moved something over to something they called HQ. What is that? They are no longer. I mean, they are still using in production. They are still using Active Admin, but I know that they are developing new.
Yeah, I mean they're moving all the Active Admin stuff. They I think they are copying it over to their custom build Rails things in the HQ namespace, and maybe sometime later they'll just remove the Active Admin and.
Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know all the do's and don'ts in that project, but I know that they're moving away from it. So yeah, but I would say that that Active Admin could be a good solution. Sampriti, do you have any other experience of Active Admin beside the OSRA project?
Yes, I do have experience in some other projects, like not open source, but I guess it's pretty easy to set up, and it's like you can focus more on the backend and the API stuff, and since you don't really have much customization that you would like to do, so I guess Active Admin is a pretty good choice for that. That's right.
So another thing, so yeah, I would say, Raul, Active Admin is a good choice, and unless there are certainly strong reasons not to use it, I would say that it's a good thing. But another thing I hear good things about, I don't know if any of you guys has any experience with it, is the JSON API gem for Rails. So it's JSON API resources so JSON API is a spec for building APIs, and JSON API resources is a wrapper kind of for developing those APIs. And so for me personally, once again.
This looks like a young project. Maybe you should take a look at the Rails_API project. I think that's a bit more advanced and has some more features.
I know.
Kind of a simple.
The reason I am I'm going to devote some personal time to learn this this gem is because Yehuda Katz is involved in this, and he's generally a very good guy, and he wrote the spec for the JSON API. And so I would like to, this is a personal thing, of course, but from my perspective, I still going to devote some time to learn how to build APIs with this spec. If we use that, that would be good for me personally. That's what I'm saying. But I know that there are other more mature gems and projects that we could use. So this is just a suggestion on my part. And the other one you said that was Rails API, or what was that?
Yeah, Rails API.
For API.
It's basically for API only application. It just strips out all the action view and action like asset stuff, so it makes it much faster. It only has like the action controller, action model, and the middleware for serving the API, so it makes it much more faster.
But we can still use this when we build, regular views and.
No, for this is you can't use that because this doesn't have action view. Like it just removes the action view.
Okay.
And so maybe this won't be useful because you would like to have active admin in your API, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Then this won't be useful. So never
this
mind.
won't be useful. Okay, because we need to create a separate namespace kind of thing for the API. Yeah.
I did a similar thing myself. Like I built an API only thing first using Rails API, and then when the client asked for active admin, I had to move over to Rails just for active admin.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's not settle on anything now, but I would like you guys to read on like the JSON API gem and JSON API resources, perhaps this one, and think about how we can solve this issue, or if we're just going to use the basic, JSON rendering that is in Rails, but I don't know if that's a good idea. But still, we need to make a decision on this sooner rather than later. Okay?
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
So, and this is something that we can discuss in the Slack channel for this project. So I'd love to see some vibrant discussions there, because that's a good thing, and if we discuss a lot in Slack, we don't have to spend much time talking about these things in dev meetings, because these discussions tend to be sometimes rather long and heated. No, not heated, but you know what I mean. Today I had a discussion with a guy, Ruby and Rails versus Python and Django, and he was about to strangle me or something. So I'd rather stay out of these discussions. Yeah.
No religion.
Yeah, exactly. I usually do that comparison, programming and what is right and wrong in software development is much like religion, because there are a lot of religious people that will tell you that their interpretation of the whatever religion they are committed to is the right one, and everybody else are wrong, and they are willing to do some horrible stuff in the name of religion. And the same thing is for software developers.
Yep,
basically.
absolutely.
All right, guys. Anything else we need to cover today?
I don't know. We haven't decided on dates. Maybe I don't know if is it too late to decide on dates for dev meetings and I don't. When are you guys available for? When would you be available for dev meetings? What is a good time for you guys? Maybe we start, Patrick.
Yeah, Raul. I'm on the East Coast in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So about 4 hours behind UTC, and right now I'm between jobs, so I'm pretty much open.
Okay.
So I would.
Yes, Sam.
I would like the current time, like the time it started today, as the dev meeting time. That's much.
So 1800 UTC, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that also works for me. I don't know. 1800 UTC.
Yeah, and it usually works for me as well. But yeah.
Any preference on the day? I don't know.
Saturday is a good day for me because Sunday, so I can stay up late night. But usually any other day will work. Really have a preference.
Fridays won't fly. Fridays won't fly because we have the website one dev meeting.
Yeah. So, Patrick, you said you're flexible.
I am. Yep.
All right. Cool.
Jason, you want to join us on our dev meetings? You want to have a say on this? All right.
It's probably a little too early for me to tell where I might fit here.
Okay. Cool. Well,
But
yeah.
if you don't mind me just listening in, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely.
So, okay. Well, it's also, I think it's also good to have a meeting maybe towards the end of the week so that we can probably discuss what happened during the week, or I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Either at the end of the week or maybe early in the week to discuss what we're going to be doing during the week. How do you guys feel about that?
I'm cool with that personally. I have usually quite often I have engagements on Monday nights, but I can stay on top of things, by watching the recordings or discussing with you in private sometimes if you want to have a follow up on the project lead.
Okay.
Role,
Right.
etc. So don't mind me.
All right. So I think let's settle for Saturday then. Is that okay for everyone? Okay. So Saturdays we have dev meetings, and the client meetings we'll hold them during the week, right? So
let's give him one of the dates could be a weekend date, so.
Okay, but then just talk with him and see what time when he could be available to join us around this time.
Okay.
Then we'll take it from there.
All right.
I think I just created okay, I haven't saved it. A chore now for the ERD.
Mm-hmm.
So I think maybe Patrick, you said you wanted to have a look at that. So yeah, maybe
I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah, you can text them.
So
And whenever anyone has maybe a suggestion on a story, just pop on the Pivotal Tracker and just write them in the icebox.
Yeah. So as I said in the last dev meeting, and it's worth repeating, at this stage, there are no bad user stories. There are just user stories. So whoever wants to write up a story, just do it and put it in the icebox, and we can discuss that in the next dev meeting or assess that somehow and take some votes on it, etc. So that's just let your imagination go wild here, and we can screen the really crazy ideas out later, basically.
All right, cool.
All right.
So let's say maybe the Saturday we have our first dev meetings, and then we potentially discuss have a discussion on the different stories, and we prioritize them somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I think this could be a good start, right? So
yeah. And also we can devote 10 or 15 minutes of the website one dev meeting on Friday just to, if any pressing matters needs to be discussed in this project. So I'm cool with talking about this on Friday. All right.
Cool.
And don't forget that I need you in the website one project as well. So don't devote all your free time to this, okay? Because I shut it down immediately.
Cool. Is anyone has a question? I don't know.
No, I'm cool.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah. All right.
So we call this a wrap then.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks very much, guys. It's
very much
a pleasure.
For your time.
And if there's anything, I'm on Slack, and remember to join the channel. And yeah. So that's a wrap.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Thank you.
Ciao, everyone.